Welcome to the StoneRidge Software video series for batch manufacturers. Our batch industry solutions are powered by YAVEON Pro Batch, running on Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. In this video, we'll be focusing around the following topics, dealing with warehouse operations inside of Business Central. So let's dig into Business Central. First thing we want to look at is the location configuration options. So with Business Central, unlimited locations can be set up inside of the system. And really, warehouse operations is configured by location. And I want to just scroll down and center first around this section of the page. So warehousing can include separate documents and different documents depending on the requirements around or within a warehouse. So for example, we can require a separate receiving document, a separate shipping document. The system has the ability to receive off of a PO directly, ship off of a sales order directly. What this enables is the warehouse functionality to require a separate receiving document, a separate shipping document. We also can require a put away. So as the product comes into the warehouse, a receipt is processed, and then a put away document is also created. A put away worksheet deals with bin configuration and really suggested put aways or directed put aways. Require a pick is going to be coupled with the shipment process, so I can ship, create a shipping document, and then from that I could require a pick document. Picking is also incorporated with manufacturing, which we're not going to look at today, but it would be some sort of movement like that. Bin mandatory is going to be dealing with bin configuration in a location. So we have the ability to set up bins. Bins can also be configured into locations. And then finally, we have the ability to do directed picks and directed putaways. So with the bin configuration, the zone configuration, some additional configuration around the item, we can do directed putaways, so that operator would be told what bin to put the product into, and then a directed pick would be directing an operator to a specific bin to pick a specific item. We have some other configurations around the location itself and dealing with warehouse lead times, calendar times, that sort of thing. We do support cross-docking, although specifically we're not going to talk about that today. All right, if we do have bins set up, then we have some default bin locations that can be configured within the system for receiving, shipping, production, etc. And then for the directed processes, we have some bin policies that can be set up. So do we want to look at capacity? What sort of template codes do we want to use for putaways, picking, etc.? So just a brief look at, again, the location configuration. One more note, we do support transfers. So transfers from location to location can be a direct transfer, or they can be, I guess, a two-step transfer. So it would require a receipt from the originating location. I'm sorry, a shipment from the originating location and a receipt from the destination location. So that's the location configuration. For the rest of my demo today, we're just going to stay in my St. Paul location. It does have bins configured, so that's the data that we're going to be looking at. Okay, so when it comes to warehouse operations, we have a couple of options for essentially for data entry methods, and I want to just show you a couple of them today. So one would be a terminal using a browser like you're looking at right here. So this would be a computer. Computer could be in a particular department, etc. But I'm going to be using the web client essentially for data entry. So if you think about warehouse picks, I'm just going to open this up so that we can look at the data. I've got two picks that are out here. I could open up pick number 7, and I can process the pick inside of Business Central. So pretty straightforward, but again, it's using that regular client. I've got two app options, and I want to show you these while we're still in the system here. So the first one would be this app, and this app is a phone app. And now I lost it, but the phone app would allow you to download to essentially a phone, and I've got a phone sitting here. And you can run Business Central on that device. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a phone, but think of a smaller device. This could be an Android device, it could be an iOS device, could be a Windows device. What you're going to see is that Business Central makes use of the Role Center. And the way the Role Center is configured, it's going to be consistent in terms of content from the desktop to the app for that user. But again, it's going to be presented in a little different way. So if I wanted to come through here and I wanted to pull up my warehouse picks, you notice warehouse picks 3 and 7 are still available for me. And this would be the user interface that would allow a user essentially to process the warehouse transaction on their phone device. Pros and cons with this, the pro is that the app is free. Microsoft provides the apps for the phone device, and you can use it. I think a con is it's not exactly conducive for data entry. So you may want to do some page modifications, that sort of thing, to make it a little more conducive. But in terms of easy to deploy, fairly easy to maintain, etc., it's a really good option, sort of as a step one. We also have a tablet app, and I do have a tablet next to me, so I wanted to show you this user interface as well. So what you're going to see with the tablet app is it's a little more conducive for larger screen operations. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I happen to have a Galaxy tablet here, but this would run on an iPad or a Windows tablet as well. What you're going to see is I can go to Warehouse Picks, and I'm going to see the same pick documents that I had listed before. Once it refreshes, and then I can actually pull up, for example, pick number 7, which is the one we looked at prior. So little screen, larger screen real estate in terms of usability. It is more, it's geared more to a touch screen, but I think it's more conducive to the touch screen operation just because it's a larger screen. Again, it's free. Download it for iOS devices, Android devices, Windows devices, and can make use of an option like this for warehousing. Other places as well, but certainly for warehousing is an option. All right, the next piece that I want to talk about is actually the scanning app provided by or available from YAVEON. And and I'm going to run this in an emulator as well so that you can get an idea of what this can look like. This is a browser-based application, so the deployment process is a little different. It's not an app-based application, it's a browser-based application. What that allows you to do, though, is run this on any device that you can run a browser on. So Windows type devices, tablet devices, or more of a traditional scanning device. If you think of a handheld device that has got a barcode reader on it, etc., this is absolutely capable of working with devices like that. So I want to walk through a couple of examples here just to show you how warehouse operations can work with the scanning device. First question, or the first thing I want to address really is the ability to print labels within the application. So I want to talk about and actually show you a couple different places that this is available, just so that you can see everything is enabled with barcode printing out of the box with YAVEON. So I'm going to pull up some Chipotle sauce here, and what you're going to notice is several places in the application there are things that are just product labels or other places to print information. So let's just pull up this label. It's a sample, absolutely can be modified to meet whatever requirements that you might have. But if you've got an image that you want to put on there, obviously product information, this has got lot information, so it would be adhered to the package, etc. Completely modifiable to put other information on here. But the key is that these documents are already enabled with barcodes that are going to work with the scanning solution out of the box. Next place that I want to take us is actually the load carrier. So YAVEON Pro Batch does have a concept of a load carrier, maybe a pallet, license plate. There's other terms that people use for it. The YAVEON product happens to call it a load carrier. So it allows me to group items together and then transact warehouse operations against the load, not having to move 15 different items in lots. I can move the load carrier and in turn all of the lots move. So what I want to do is show you the label that's available here. Once again, configurable, but this is going to show you, barcode items. You could have all the items with the appropriate lot information, quantity information. You'll notice I've got some more detailed quantity information that's on this particular label, but configured as you needed to be placed on the tote or on the pallet for informational purposes. Okay. We do have the ability to do bin labels. So if I just pull up, oops, I didn't want to go there. Just pull up bin labels, and you're going to see that ProBatch has supplied information necessary so that you can print all the labeling that you'd need for your warehouse as well. So I'm going to pull up my St. Paul location, just preview this. These are pretty simple. They're just going to have the barcode. I want to go smaller, not larger. They're going to have the barcode and a label that's on here. If you wanted other additional information to print, we absolutely could do that as well. Okay, let's look at the picking document itself. So we keep looking at warehouse picks, and I'm going to pull up that number 7 again. There it is. And what you'll see when I print this and print preview this, if you wanted to print documents, the movement documents, you can do that. And essentially you can couple the scanning operations with a physical piece of paper. I'll show you how you don't have to do that either. But if you did want documents to a company, you can sort of piggyback scanning on top of those documents. Okay, so let's log into the scanning app from YAVEON here, and I will show you how this can work. So got myself user ID, password logged in, so that would be your warehouse person, and it is essentially an icon-driven menu system here from the beginning. So I could put readable labels here if I wanted to, or I could put pictures depending on how you wanted to look at this. So first thing I want to do is I want to go to this information tab, and I want to show you the ability to look up data. So if you think I'm walking through the warehouse and I pull up a bin contents and I'm going to scan, I've got a wedge scanner connected here so I can actually scan a barcode. Hopefully you'll hear it beep. But if I wanted to look what does the system say is in a particular bin, there I scanned the receiving bin. And what you'll notice down here is I'm going to get item, lot information, storage, quantity, etc. For a particular bin. If I wanted to see maybe what's in a different bin, I can scan that bin. And again, I'm going to see the information that's available. So walking through the warehouse, scanning something, I can look up information with that with the scanning device. All right, let's back this up, and I've got item tracking information. So if I'm next to an item and I want to know more information about the item, I can scan a label that's on the item, and then I've got the ability to look at essentially the information that was on that item summary section. So what's the item, what's the description, lot information, what's the status, et cetera, how many do I have on hand? That's all accessible here. And then if I go past a pallet and I want to know what's actually on the pallet, I could scan that load carrier information and details about that particular pallet or load are going to be displayed. So item information, quantity information, etc. So the ability to look up information, really important. That is available on the scanner. In terms of transaction processing, then I've got the ability to then let's look at the pick first. So I've got the ability to do the picking, and I can pick manually essentially from a list. So in the scenario where I didn't print out a document, this is going to show you that I've got my pick 3 and 7, just like we saw inside of the app or on the browser. I can select it. Alternatively, I have the ability to integrate then a printed document with the scanning. So in this case, if I printed that document I showed you before, I'm going to scan essentially the document number, and it's going to give me the information regarding the pick. So without paper or with paper, I've got the ability to process things like picks. You'll notice I've got the LC as load carrier. So if I'm picking by load carrier, if I'm picking and packing, etc., those functions are then available via the scanning device. If I look at the put away functionality, you're going to see it's identical. So I've got the ability to do the put aways off of a list, or if I'm going to put away a load carrier. So depending on how we've got the system processed. Some of these shortcuts may not be relevant to your implementation either. So if you don't want, for example, the ability to look at a list, you always want to drive it off of a piece of paper, or the other scenario, you always want to pick from a list, never off of a piece of paper. These menus can be removed, so your operators aren't confused about what is showing up here. All right, what else can I do? I can do warehouse movements from here. So within Business Central, we've got the ability to essentially do some restocks. If you've got overstock locations and you want to pull to a picking location, that type of functionality can be done in the system. It can be calculated, and then I could use the scanning device to actually perform those movements. And then we do have the ability to do oops, that's production. We're not going to go into that in this video. I also have the ability to do physical inventory. So creating a physical inventory journal and then doing a count essentially off of the scanning device is certainly an option as well. All right, that concludes what we wanted to just briefly talk about here today. Encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn for more information about webinars, upcoming events. Check out our resources page, talk about more webinars, educational content. And if you have any more questions regarding today's video or anything else that we can help you with, feel free to reach out, solutions@stoneridgesoftware.com, and we will connect you with the appropriate team member that can help you out.